Garden Lodge, Kensington, August 14th, 1991, 2:18 a.m. Freddie Mercury's trembling hand gripped the telephone receiver as he struggled to remain upright against the mahogany desk in his bedroom. On the other end of the line, concert promoter Harvey Goldsmith listened in stunned silence as rock music's greatest showman made an impossible request. "Harvey, I want to do it. One last show. December 1st, Wembley Stadium. Just me. No Queen, no pyrotechnics, just me and a piano." I need to say goodbye properly. What Harvey didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Freddie had been secretly planning this farewell concert for 8 months, writing 12 deeply personal songs that would reveal everything he had spent his entire career hiding. And what he intended to announce from that stage would have changed music history forever. 6 months after privately receiving his AIDS diagnosis, Freddie Mercury made a decision that defied every medical opinion, every concerned friend, and every protective instinct of those who loved him. He was going to perform one final time, and he was going to do it his way. It was November 23rd, 1990, when Freddie first mentioned the idea to pianist Mike Moran during what was supposed to be a casual visit to Garden Lodge. They sat in Freddie's music room, surrounded by decades of memories captured in gold records and photographs. "Mike, I need to ask you something," Freddie said quietly, his voice already showing the strain of illness. "And I need you to keep it completely secret. Can you do that?" Mike Moran had worked with Freddie for years, arranging the Barcelona album with Montserrat Caballé. He knew when Freddie was serious. "Of course, Freddie." "What is it?" Freddie stood and walked to the piano, running his fingers along the keys without pressing them. "I'm dying, Mike. You know that. Everyone knows that, even if they won't say it. But I'm not going to die silently. I want one last concert. Just me. No band. No spectacle. Just truth." Mike felt his throat tighten. "Freddie, are you sure you'll be strong enough?" "I don't know," Freddie admitted. "But I need to try. I need to write songs that tell my real story. The one nobody knows. Will you help me?" Over the next 6 months, in secret sessions that never appeared in any official calendar, Freddie Mercury composed 12 of the most personal songs he would ever write. Each one told a chapter of his hidden life. Farouk's Lullaby was about his father, the man he had disappointed by becoming a rock star instead of following a respectable career. The Boy Who Couldn't Speak detailed his childhood in Zanzibar, the bullying, the isolation. Mary's Tears was a love letter and apology to Mary Austin. The Man in the Shadows celebrated Jim Hutton, the love of his final years that the world barely acknowledged. But the centerpiece, the song that would close the concert, was Bohemian Requiem, his own death march, a 7-minute opus that would serve as both farewell and final statement. Mike Moran recorded everything on a simple tape recorder. The sessions were exhausting. Freddie would play for 15 minutes, then need to rest for an hour. His fingers, once so nimble, struggled with complex passages, but his voice, though weakened, still carried that unmistakable emotion that had defined his career. "This stays between us," Freddie reminded Mike after every session. "Nobody can know. Not Brian, not Roger, not even Jim. I'll tell them when I'm ready." But Freddie wasn't just creating music. He was planning a revelation that would shock the world. What Mike Moran didn't initially know was that Freddie's final concert had a second purpose beyond saying goodbye. He intended to publicly announce his AIDS diagnosis from the Wembley stage not as a victim, not with shame, but as a final act of defiance against the stigma that had forced millions to suffer in silence. In his private journals from that period, later discovered by Jim Hutton, Freddie had written, "They've made us hide. They've made us ashamed. They've made us die alone. If I'm going to die anyway, I'm going to die screaming the truth. Maybe one person, one frightened soul watching, will see that you can face death with dignity. That's worth everything." The plan was unprecedented. After performing his 12 personal songs, Freddie would speak directly to the audience. He would tell them about his diagnosis. He would explain why he kept it secret, and he would dedicate his final song to everyone suffering from AIDS, visible or hidden. It was, in every sense, a suicide mission. But for Freddie, it was the only death that made sense. On July 15th, 1991, Brian May arrived at Garden Lodge for what he thought was a casual visit. Freddie's health had deteriorated significantly, and Brian tried to visit weekly, though each visit was harder than the last, watching his friend waste away. He found Freddie at the piano in the music room, surrounded by handwritten sheet music. Freddie was so absorbed in his playing that he didn't hear Brian enter. Brian stood in the doorway listening. The melody was heartbreaking, simple, honest, stripped of all the bombast that defined Queen's sound. And then Freddie began to sing, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry that I couldn't be the friend you wanted me to be. I'm sorry that my pride became a wall between you and me." "Freddie," Brian said softly. Freddie spun around, startled. For a moment, something like fear crossed his face, the look of someone caught revealing too much. "Brian, I didn't hear you come in." Brian walked to the piano, looking at the scattered papers. "What is all this?" Freddie hesitated, then decided. "It's my goodbye, Brian. I'm writing my farewell." "Farewell to what?" "To everything. Everyone. I'm planning a concert, one last performance. December 1st, Wembley Stadium. Just me and a piano. No Queen, no spectacle, just truth." Brian felt his legs weaken. He sat heavily on the piano bench beside Freddie. "You can't be serious. Freddie, you can barely stand for more than 10 minutes. How are you going to perform a concert?" "I don't know if I can," Freddie admitted, "but I have to try. I need to say goodbye properly, not just disappear quietly like the world expects." Brian picked up one of the sheets of music. The song was titled "The Friend Who Stayed." He read the lyrics, and tears began streaming down his face before he finished the first verse. It was about him, about their friendship, about the arguments and reconciliations, about loyalty that survived ego and conflict. "Freddie, I don't know what to say." "Say you understand," Freddie pleaded. "Say you understand why I need to do this." But Brian was shaking his head. "I understand why you want to. But Freddie, this is going to destroy you. The media will tear you apart. They'll photograph you at your weakest. They'll make your death into a spectacle. My death is already a spectacle, Brian. At least this way, I control the narrative." They argued for 2 hours. Brian begged, he reasoned, he shouted. But Freddie remained unmoved. Finally exhausted, Brian stood to leave. "I can't support this," he said. "I love you too much to watch you do this to yourself." "Then don't watch," Freddie said quietly. "But don't stop me either." Brian left Garden Lodge that night, feeling like he'd failed his best friend. But worse than that, he felt certain he would lose him long before December. If Brian's opposition was gentle, Mary Austin's was volcanic. Mary had been Freddie's anchor for over 2 decades. She knew him better than anyone, understood his moods, his fears, his deepest vulnerabilities. When she learned about the concert plan in early August, she arrived at Garden Lodge like a storm. "Absolutely not," she said, standing in Freddie's bedroom where he was resting. "I won't allow it." Freddie, propped up on pillows, managed a weak smile. "Mary, darling, you don't get to allow or disallow anything. This is my decision." "It's a suicide," Mary said, her voice breaking. "You're planning your own public execution, and you're asking the world to watch." "I'm planning my own public farewell," Freddie corrected. "There's a difference." No, there isn't." Mary was crying now, something she rarely did in front of Freddie. "You think you'll be in control, but you won't. You'll be too weak. You'll collapse on stage. And that's how the world will remember you, not as Freddie Mercury, the legend, but as a dying AIDS patient who couldn't even finish his final song." The words hit Freddie hard because he knew she might be right. He had imagined the concert 1,000 times, always picturing himself strong enough to finish, composed enough to deliver his message. But the truth was, he didn't know if his body would cooperate. "Mary, please try to understand." "No, Freddie, you understand." Her voice was sharp now, angry. "I have loved you for 26 years. I have stood by you through everything, and I am telling you, as someone who loves you more than life itself, that this concert is not how you should be remembered. You deserve better than that." "Maybe I don't deserve anything," Freddie said quietly. "Maybe this is exactly what I deserve, to stand in front of everyone and admit every truth I've hidden." Mary sat on the edge of his bed, taking his hand. "You're one of the greatest performers who ever lived. That's how you should be remembered. Not like this. Please, Freddie, please don't do this. In all their years together, through his affairs, through her marriages, through every high and low, Freddie had never seen Mary so desperate. And for the first time, he felt his resolve waver. "Let me think about it," he finally said. Mary kissed his forehead and left, but she had already decided. If Freddie wouldn't protect himself, she would do it for him. She called Jim Beach, Queen's manager, that same evening. "Jim, you need to stop this concert. Whatever it takes." Freddie's not thinking clearly. When Harvey Goldsmith, one of the UK's most successful concert promoters, received Freddie's call on August 14th at 2:18 a.m., his first reaction was excitement. Freddie Mercury wanted to do a solo show. That would be the event of the decade. "Freddie, this is incredible. When are you thinking?" "December 1st, Wembley Stadium." Harvey's excitement dimmed. "Freddie, that's less than 4 months away. And forgive me for asking, but are you well enough?" "Probably not," Freddie admitted. "But I'm going to die, Harvey. The question isn't whether I'm well enough. The question is whether I can hold on long enough to do this one last thing." The silence on the phone was heavy. Harvey had promoted hundreds of concerts, worked with every major artist, but he'd never received a call like this. "Let me make some calls," Harvey said carefully. "We'll need medical clearance, insurance, venue approval. It's complicated." "I don't need it to be perfect, Harvey. I just need it to happen." But the complications were insurmountable. When EMI Records learned of the plan, executives immediately began working to prevent it. Jim Fifield, EMI's chairman, called an emergency meeting. "We cannot allow this," Fifield said bluntly. "Freddie collapsing on stage at Wembley? That's not just bad optics, it's a legal nightmare. No insurance company will cover it. We'll be liable if anything happens." Jim Beach, caught between his loyalty to Freddie and his professional responsibilities, tried to find middle ground. "What if we scale it down? Not Wembley, a smaller venue, limited audience?" "The answer is no," Fifield said. "Our contract with Freddie includes a health clause. We can legally prevent him from performing if doctors deem him unfit, and I guarantee every doctor will deem him unfit." Behind closed doors, the industry was making decisions for Freddie without his knowledge. Insurance companies rejected coverage. Venue managers expressed concerns about medical emergencies. Even the musicians' union quietly indicated they wouldn't support a performance that could endanger the artist. The machine that had made Freddie Mercury a superstar was now working to silence him. On October 10, 1991, Freddie called Harvey Goldsmith one final time. His voice was so weak that Harvey could barely hear him. "Harvey, it's Freddie. Freddie, how are you feeling?" A long pause. "I'm dying, Harvey. We both know that, but I wanted to call and tell you, you were right. I can't do the concert. I can barely walk to the bathroom. There's no way I could stand on a stage for 2 hours." Harvey felt tears running down his face. "I'm so sorry, Freddie. I wish things were different." "Me too," Freddie whispered. "But Harvey, can I ask you something? Anything. If I had done it, if I'd somehow found the strength, would it have been beautiful? The concert I imagined?" Harvey didn't hesitate. "It would have been the most beautiful concert the world has ever seen. Every person in that stadium would have carried that memory for the rest of their lives." "Good," Freddie said. "Good. At least in my imagination, it was perfect." He paused, breathing heavily. "Keep this secret, Harvey. Don't tell anyone I wanted to do this. Let them think I just faded away. It's easier." "Freddie, thank you for trying, Harvey. Thank you for believing I could do it." The line went dead. Harvey Goldsmith sat in his office, holding the receiver, and wept for the concert that would never be. On November 23, 1991, Freddie Mercury issued a public statement confirming what everyone had suspected. He had AIDS. 24 hours later, at 7:49 p.m. on November 24, 1991, Freddie Mercury died at Garden Lodge, surrounded by Mary Austin and Jim Hutton. The concert he had dreamed of, planned for, and fought to make real would never happen. The 12 songs he had written, the truth he wanted to share, remained locked in private tapes that only Mike Moran possessed. The world mourned Freddie Mercury, the performer, the legend, the icon. But they never got to meet Farouk Bulsara, the man behind the persona, the frightened boy from Zanzibar who wanted one last chance to speak without armor. 27 years after Freddie's death, Mike Moran sat in a BBC documentary interview, his own health failing. The documentary was about Freddie's final year, and Mike had initially declined to participate, but something changed his mind. "There's something people need to know," Mike told the interviewer, "something I've kept secret for 27 years. The camera continued rolling as Mike explained the secret concert, the 12 songs, the plan that never materialized. And then he said the words that stunned everyone watching. "I still have the recordings, the demo tapes from our sessions. Freddie's voice, weak but still powerful. His truth preserved." The documentary team obtained permission from Queen Productions and Mary Austin to hear one song, "The Last Bow," the finale that was meant to close Freddie's farewell concert. When they played the tape, even the sound engineers were crying. Freddie's voice, thin but unmistakable, sang, "This is my last bow, my final song. I'm leaving now, but you'll sing along. Don't cry for me, I had my time. I lived in glory, I died in rhyme. The show is over, the lights go down, but love remains beyond the crown. This is my last bow, my last bow." The recording cut off abruptly. Freddie had been too weak to continue. Mike Moran, tears streaming down his face, told the interviewer that was going to be his finale. He was going to stand on the Wembley stage, if he could stand at all, and sing that. And then he was going to tell everyone about his AIDS diagnosis. He was going to say, "I'm dying, but I'm dying on my terms." We took that from him. All of us who loved him, we took his final performance because we thought we were protecting him. When the documentary aired in 2018, Brian May watched from his home, alone. Afterward, he gave his first interview about Freddie's secret concert plan. "I knew," Brian admitted. "Freddie told me in July of 1991, and I told him he shouldn't do it. I thought I was protecting him. I thought I was being a good friend." The interviewer asked, "Do you regret that decision?" Brian's face crumbled. Every single day for 27 years, Freddie had the right to say goodbye however he wanted. Maybe he would have collapsed on stage. Maybe he would have managed one song, or 5, or all 12. It doesn't matter. It was his life, his death, his choice, and we took it from him. He paused, collecting himself. "The last thing Freddie said to me was, 'Brian, don't let me disappear quietly.' And that's exactly what we made him do. We silenced the loudest voice in rock music because we thought we knew better. I'll never forgive myself for that." The revelation sparked a global conversation. Should artists be allowed to perform even when dying? Who has the right to protect someone from themselves? And most painfully, did those who loved Freddie actually honor him, or did they rob him of his final act of courage?